Hello, everyone. My name is Louay Shaat, and I'm a customer engineering lead at Google. For the last 3 days that I've been here, the first question that everyone comes and asks me, what the hell are you doing here? Are you Web 2? So that's been kind of like the running thing that I've been trying to fix. Are the slides up? Excellent. We're good. Yeah, so as I said, customer engineer at Google. I work with digital natives and Web3 startups for the last 2 years that I've been with Google now. And as I mentioned, the first question that people ask is, why is Google Cloud, and why should we be considering Google Cloud in the Web3 ecosystem? We didn't start the journey yesterday, and it's something that we just kind of embarked on. We kind of have an ethos and kind of a mission statement that we want to do when it comes to the Web3 ecosystem, is that we want to be the preferred development partner for startups and for enterprises that want to be able to leverage enterprise-grade blockchain infrastructure in a democratized way, which is not an easy thing to do, but we're trying to get there. And we've been doing a few things in that space to kind of get us to the point that we can have actual offerings that we do have available today. We started our journey in February 2020 when we joined the Hedera Governing Council, and we started thinking about what type of node offerings that we want to put out to the market. Then in January 2021, we partnered with Block One and Theta Labs. Q4 2021, if you're one of the YouTube creators, you can actually have NFT as well integrated as part of your creator tools as well. And probably the most important kind of date for us from a Web3 team perspective is January 2022, when we launched our Web3 team, and we started having dedicated development teams for Web3 services. Since then, we've partnered with Sky Mavis from a security perspective. We became a validator on the Solana network with a partnership and an offering. And I would say about 6 weeks ago, we also became a validator on the Polygon network, and they're leveraging the Google Cloud infrastructure behind that as well. So we've been doing a lot of work in that space to kind of get us to a point where we have some solid offerings for the community. And you can see that statement at the bottom. That's from our CEO. We see blockchain and Web3 as something as the future, and we're going to continue to develop and put in our efforts into that ecosystem as well. Quickly, if you don't know much about Google Cloud, we kind of operate in about 26 regions today with multiple availability zones per region. And the idea behind it is that we want to give you the ability to run your blockchain infrastructure and across all the regions that we do operate in today. The Google Cloud environment is also connected by subsea cables. We own about 14 of them. That gives you the ability to have extremely low latency across your connected infrastructure around the globe in a way that's secure and available for you as a customer. From a team perspective, we started 18 months ago. We're over 40 full-time employees working specifically with Web3 customers. Our focus is on specialists and startups in the ecosystem rather than traditional enterprises. And again, we want to make GCP the best place to run Web3 developers to be able to build your infrastructure and services on top of that. So as of today, we have 2 offerings for Web3 that I'm going to demo. Hopefully we have enough time to be able to do so. But the idea is behind our offerings is 4 different principles. One is fully managed. We want to allow our developers to focus on developing applications rather than running infrastructure. So if you look at our blockchain node engine service that we do have today, we expose endpoints for you to start developing rather than actually building and maintaining the infrastructure. That's something that we can do on your behalf and giving you the maintenance and self-healing and the auto-scaling capabilities that you do expect from a cloud provider. We want to give you the ability to have security built in mind as well, so you can run your nodes privately in a shared way or in a public sense as well. You want to be able to secure them with multiple different security mechanisms, not just from an application stack, but also from an infrastructure level. And we provided that level of capability as well to be able to do so. We want to make it simple. So when we start talking about our services, specifically when it comes to the blockchain node engine, we provide you an RPC node with a JSON RPC and a WebSocket endpoint for you to be able to start interacting with it. Whether you're talking about a single instance or a shared cluster running behind a load balancer, we give you the same capability for you to be able to run that distributed infrastructure in a unified way across your environment. Another thing that comes up a lot is blockchain is not sustainable, it's not green enough. If you know anything about Google Cloud environment, we're running 100% carbon neutral today across all of our cloud. which gives you the ability to leverage that as well from a sustainability perspective when you're extending your infrastructure. It's a big statement to say that you're running kind of green blockchain environment when you're leveraging a kind of an environment like Google Cloud. If you want to learn more about that, we actually give you customized reports per region, per zone, in terms of the level of sustainability and the carbon emissions that we do. It's a great statement for you to kind of taking that into consideration when you're building your applications. Another thing, and that's kind of the final tenet in terms of what we're doing from a Web3 perspective, is that Google has a long history with open source, and we're committed to open source. A lot of our services, whether we're talking about Kubernetes, TensorFlow, AI, Gen AI, Android, and the list goes on and on and on, we've outsourced all of these services, and we're going to continue to do so. And we have big plans for the Web3 ecosystem as well in terms of open sourcing some of the services that we're working with. So let's talk about something real rather than all the kind of marketing stuff. From a blockchain node engine, this is a service that's available for you today to be able to deploy. You can deploy that in the US, in the Iowa region. You can deploy it in the Frankfurt region in Europe, and you can deploy it in the Taiwan region as well, in Asia. It's often like referred to as nodes. We give you the ability to deploy that for external customers or for internal customers on a Google Cloud project. And the way you deploy is a single-click deploy. I'm going to show you very, very quickly how to get that done. We give you the ability to run a full node or an archival node for real data and real reading, or for archival purposes as well. We've made that available in an automated way from a deployment, from a maintenance, from an operational perspective. We've included self-healing, fast provisioning. We can do automatic deployments, and it's available for you on an API, CLI, and a UI basis for you to be able to launch that as a service as well. We've launched on Ethereum in June 2023, and we're planning for Polygon and Solana in Q4 this year, so we're talking about a few months. And we continue to working with partners in the ecosystem as well, including Multiverse as well, hopefully at some point. So that's kind of like part of our kind of future strategy as we continue. From a use case perspective, today you have the concept of dedicated nodes, and we have a bunch of customers that are using that, some big names there on the left. But you see that as well from a developer perspective for your ability to bootstrap your mainnets, testing new versions, and testnets for the developer community as well. We trying to focus more on creating value on top of raw nodes rather than give you the ability to manage that. So we do that as a service on your behalf. And the great thing is that it's pay-as-you-go model. So you can deploy it today, and you pay for the usage per minute. Once you no longer need it, then you can decommission these services, and it's gone. There's no long-term commitment for you to be able to run these services. You run them for the purposes that you do require, and once you're done, you can easily terminate them as well. We see JSON RPC endpoint as the way it's going to continue to go from a blockchain perspective, and we're not just looking at it from a Google Cloud perspective. So as of today, you have the concept of a dedicated node that you can make that externally available or internally available and secured within a VPC, which is a virtual private network within Google Cloud dedicated to you. Or you can actually leverage existing customers that are running shared nodes across the environment that are made available for you to leverage from an API perspective. But our future is that we want to make sure that we have that service available regardless of where you're running your infrastructure. So our kind of future goal is the ability to run shared nodes, to make that available for you across multiple cloud providers, whether it's GCP, Azure, or AWS. You have the same consistent experience in terms of how you do that deployment across multiple cloud services. So kind of from a timeline perspective, to kind of give you an idea in terms of where we are, we've launched our dedicated nodes in H1 2023. Companies like Chainalysis are using that today. And some of the differentiating factors, the ability to integrate with native services within the Google Cloud environment, like VPC, firewalling, layer 7 protection, confidential computing, and a various list of security services that you include on top of your blockchain engine environments. From a shared node perspective, so there's a lot of use cases that we see from an application developer perspective. But the thing is that we want to give you the ability to leverage marketplaces for you to integrate with multiple developers and multiple services as you're building your ecosystem and continuing to grow that. And as I mentioned, multi-cloud support, that's kind of like the future that we see that we're heading to. We want to give you the ability to integrate and leverage the multi-cloud environment for you to be able to distribute the infrastructure across. And we're planning to open source some of those aspects as well to make sure that you can easily run them, not just on other cloud providers, but wherever you see fit for running your infrastructure today. So that's a little bit about our blockchain node engine service that we do have. I'm going to show it in a quick demo, but we also have blockchain analytics, and I think this is a really, really cool service that we do have. Just to kind of give you an idea quickly, Multiverse has published their public data set on the BigQuery slash blockchain analytics service that's available for us on Google Cloud, and it's going to be soon available on the marketplace for you to be able to consume. But what is blockchain analytics? Has anybody heard of BigQuery before? Cool, we've got a couple of people. BigQuery is a data warehousing and data analytics solution. There's another one as well. Data analytics and data warehousing solution gives you the ability to ingest data from multiple sources, the ability to report on it. You have the ability to also run ML models on top of the data. You can take your existing data set, divide that data into training data sets, and you can actually run your analytics on top of that. But you also have the ability to consume data from third-party sources. And we've been doing that for a long time, since the beginning of BigQuery. But now you also have the ability to integrate that BigQuery, the Web3 data sets that our partners are providing into the ecosystem. That starts a bunch of really, really interesting new use cases that are available for you to leverage. So we see kind of 5 different main use cases for data analytics. Crypto native businesses, you want to be able to understand user behavior and user retention and get the AI/ML use cases from top of that, understand the market and the competition. You want to be able to focus on building your business applications on top of data rather than maintaining it. Probably another big one is public sector and governance, criminal investigation, compliance, risk. Chainalysis is a really good example of leveraging some of these services. Or the ability to integrate with native Google services, bridging that world between Web 2 and Web 3 services that are available today. So that's a really cool service. BigQuery gives you 1 terabyte of usage per month for free. So it's not an expensive service for you to kind of get started with it. Really simple to use, SQL-based language. We support structured and non-structured data. We're going to be supporting audio and video formats into BigQuery natively as well. So regardless of what it is, that type of data that you're consuming, you can have that kind of big data analytics running natively on top of Google Cloud. And if you're leveraging our blockchain node engine service, it kind of makes sense for you to able to get that data from your blockchain natively into BigQuery. Time for a demo to show you some of the stuff. So I had a full-on demo when I kind of ran it. Took about 45 minutes. I don't think we have the leverage of that capability to be able to do so, but I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we have very, very quickly. I talked a little bit about a blockchain node engine service. If you go to Google Cloud, you'll be able to see that very easily. You can go, you can create a node, right? You can select the blockchain type. At the moment, I said we only have Ethereum, but Solana and Polygon are coming and kind of the roadmap soon. You can decide whether you want to do this on the mainnet or a testnet. Select the node type, whether it's full node or archival, depending on the network that you want to be able to do. And then you can start deciding which region you want to run it in. As I've mentioned, we're planning to extend that to multiple regions beyond those, but at the moment you can run it in the US, Asia, or Europe. And then you can click on continue and create, and that will go and create a blockchain node engine available for you. This is an example of another node that I have running. I'm running in the US Central 1. You can see my RPC endpoint and my WebSocket. And we also, to make it kind of easier for you in terms of how you access, sorry, I'll show you as well API keys. Right. So the great thing about working with Google Cloud, if you haven't worked with them before, don't use this as a good usage because I have a lot of unrestricted keys, but typically these keys are restricted. But you can create API keys that you can use to interact with the services that are running within your Google projects. You can start setting restrictions in terms of how you're going to get that done. A combination of that key and the RPC endpoint of your block node engine, you can actually start building applications on top of that immediately. I've built kind of like a very, very simple demo I essentially have a smart contract that was that I deployed via MetaMask from a wallet perspective, and I'm just going to show you very, very quickly how we can leverage the blockchain node engine for us to be able to interact with that smart contract. I'm not going to deploy it, but I'm going to show you how to kind of interact with it. I already deployed it. But to show you very quickly what I've built, I basically, it's Node, and I basically deployed my contract, used hard hat for that, and I created a couple of functions, one to interact with the contract itself, and one to listen to the contract. The contract is deployed via Solidity, and you can see I basically have very simple functions, one to create a message, one to change the message, and one to be able to update the message on my contract. From an integration and configuration perspective, I basically used my API key, which is my JSON RPC endpoint of my blockchain node engine, and the API key that I showed earlier. I have my private key and my smart contract address. Feel free to use those if you want to. There's nothing running on there. But then I deployed my contract, and I'm just going to show you very, very quickly how we can easily kind of interact with that smart contract that's running on a B&E engine. Just going to update the message at the bottom. Right, and I'm going to start listening. Oh, this is not going to work because of the firewall that's here. Just give me a second. I need to connect to a different network. Here we go. Okay. All right, so now I'm listening to kind of contract events on kind of the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, I just modified the interaction, and I'm just going to interact with that. That's essentially going to update my message on the contract. And all that is essentially running on my blockchain node engine. And the great thing about that from a development perspective is essentially all I had to do is go through the steps that I kind of showed you earlier in terms of kind of building my instance or my multiple nodes. Once I've done that, I can easily start my development, and that's kind of the goal from a Google perspective, is to make your life a lot simpler in terms of how you build and develop those services on top of GCP. So as you can see, I updated my message, and you can actually listen to that on the contract and actually see the data. I know it's a very, very simple demo, but I just wanted to kind of show you very, very quickly how you can easily get started on top of the Google Cloud environment for you to be able to start building your services on top of that. A couple more things, and I'm going to let you go because I know it's the end of the day. Everyone is tired. We also we do a lot of advocacy and training for Web3. We work with a bunch of teams internally from Google, PR, and legal, and we're building educational material, and we've kind of made that available across our learning platform. Come see me later on if you want to kind of see more of that. That's available for a lot of the people in the ecosystem for you to kind of start kind of bridging that gap between Web 2 skills and kind of leveraging that into Web 3. But the last thing that I want to end up with, we also have a Web 3 startup program for Google Cloud. Depending on the type of businesses that you are, you can be granted anywhere between $2,000 to $250,000 in credits on top of the Google Cloud platform. 200K Google Cloud credits. And we actually work with a lot of different kind of ground foundations from Solana and Near and Celo and Flow, etc. But that gives you the ability to start building your services on top of Google Cloud as a startup and kind of help you get that mentoring and training and also running your infrastructure for free for a bit till you kind of get to that level where you can actually start making money and getting customers in. So if you're interested, if you just scan that QR code, that's going to take you to the website. You just need to sign up, and I think the team gets back to you within 1 to 2 weeks in terms of kind of the status of your application, and it gives you the ability to start building on top of that. And with that, I think that's enough of me talking. Thank you very, very much for your time and for listening, and it's a pleasure to be here.